What's going on, guys? I'm Pete, and this is Retro Game Attic. I feel like I start a lot of my videos with this, but Nintendo is almost synonymous with handheld gaming at this point. From the humble Game & Watch to the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo has pretty much dominated the handheld gaming scene ever since they got into it. There are some obscure Nintendo handhelds that I've covered before, like the Pokemon Mini and the Pokemon Pikachu. There is a lesser known series of Nintendo handhelds that has actually been around since the 1990s, Nintendo Mini Classics. The Nintendo Mini Classics are a series of small LCD games that were licensed by Nintendo, produced by Stadelbauer, and were distributed in various regions by a handful of other companies. Each Mini Classics unit resembles a mini Game Boy, as the name implies. They have a decent sized LCD screen given the size of the unit, and most feature a D-pad and 3 buttons, a larger action button, and 2 smaller buttons. The units are available in a variety of colors, and each one has a keychain attachment on the top left-hand corner. Most units have a stand that pops out of the back, and they are powered by 2 tiny little LR44 button batteries, which will last a long time. The Nintendo Mini Classics draw lineage from the Game & Watch series with the inclusion of an alarm clock that is set by pressing the large action button. I can't see many people actually using the alarm, but it's a cool little throwback. They're pretty lightweight as well, clocking in at about 1.6 ounces. It's kind of a nice balance since they aren't heavy by any means given their keychain nature, but at the same time they don't feel flimsy. They measure at about 2.5 inches high, 1.75 inches wide, and 5/8 of an inch deep. The Mini Classic is pretty well built. The LCD screen is clear, with a decent, although tinny sounding speaker, and the large action button that you'll be using most of the time feels nice and responsive. It fits comfortably in my sort of adult-sized hands, and the enlarged D-pad is serviceable. It's much better than the Pokemon Mini's D-pad, so it has that going for it. The D-pad really is a decent size given the small nature of the Mini Classic. I mean, look at the Mini Classic's D-pad compared to a Wii D-pad. It's about the same size. Most of the Nintendo Mini Classics games are Game & Watch reissues, with a total of 10 games released. There are a variety of the single-screen Game & Watch games like Donkey Kong Jr., Mario Cement Factory, Super Mario Bros., and there's even 2 dual-screen games, Donkey Kong and Zelda. They kind of play how you would expect, nothing super groundbreaking or anything. It's a fun little diversion to mess around with, but I don't think you'll get much playtime out of these, given that they're more of a backpack accessory or a collector's item. I've had mine here since 1998, back when I was in 8th grade, and I didn't even play with it much back then. The real curiosity, to me at least, with the Nintendo Mini Classics are the original non-Nintendo titles. A total of 12 non-Nintendo titles were released. There's the usual licensed fare like Smurfs, Harry Potter, and Spider-Man, and a few others. I don't know why, but I find the Carrera game to be the most interesting out of the bunch. Carrera is a German slot car brand that was established in the 1960s. The Carrera game is an original 1998 release. I would guess that Carrera and Nintendo had a prior working relationship spawning from Nintendo's toy industry experience, but I can't verify this. More recently though, Carrera released a variety of slot cars, tracks, and RC cars based off of the Mario Kart series, so it's cool to see their relationship continue into the modern era. The Carrera Mini Classics game is a simple F1 racing game where you avoid other cars and obstacles on a 4-lane track. The unit itself is a nice shade of red. It kind of reminds me of the red Play It Loud Game Boy, and the back of the unit has a cool Carrera logo. It's just cool to me to see a lesser known licensed property being predominantly featured on a Nintendo branded mini console that's inspired by the Game & Watch and the Game Boy. It's like Nintendo Inception. Ninception? The Mini Classics have been produced up until at least 2014 and supposedly still is in production to this day. When I compared my original 1998 unit to a modern release, the only difference I really noticed was that the Nintendo logo on the 1998 model is now absent from the modern release. And now when we turn it around, you could see the CE branding, which is a European certification, and the crossed out trash can, which means that this cannot be disposed of with household trash. The little reset button on the modern model is a bit larger than the original, and the dates are different, along with a few other minor marking changes. Other than those differences, the construction and feel of the units seem pretty identical. Another thing to note is that the 1998's box does not have the official Nintendo licensed product seal, but it does predominantly feature the Nintendo logo. The box of the newer models, however, loses the Nintendo logo, but gains the official Nintendo licensed product seal. The Nintendo Mini Classics sold pretty well, with over 10 million sold by Stadelbauer. They were priced pretty cheap upon release too. I remember them being around $9.99 for some reason. I don't remember seeing any advertising for these. I just remember stumbling across one while walking through Bradley's with my family. R.I.P. Bradleys. The Pokemon Pikachu was Nintendo's direct response to the Tamagotchi trend of the 1990s, but I feel like the Nintendo Mini Classics were just another way Nintendo tried to cash in on the trend. It was lower risk for sure, since Nintendo already owned the properties and just licensed their name and games to other manufacturers. The Nintendo Mini Classics are just a little more unique and just a bit cooler than a virtual pet. And that was the Nintendo Mini Classics. A pretty cool little device for its time that's still in production in some form to this day. Not technically a console, but it is a long-running Nintendo branded handheld. So, what did you think of the Nintendo Mini Classics? Are you interested in picking one of these up to check out? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for checking out Retro Game Attic. I seriously appreciate you all, and I will see you on the next one. Later.